Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to Be My Guest. Today we have Selina Lovett with us, and she is the Marketing and Events Director over at Annie's Bookstore in Worcester. Welcome, Selina.
Thank you.
I didn't meet Selina in person. I don't know what happened. I may have been looking for the next copy of the Cozy Mystery I like online, and somehow I caught the interview that she did with the wife of the husband and wife team.
Mm-hmm.
Of the next book. Did she do it in the next one or the ones just before it?
She did Railroaded for Murder.
Okay, and the next one coming up is Saddled Up for Murder.
Yes, Saddled Up
I
for
can't
Murder.
wait. You're going to send that to me. I was hooked from the picture of this cute little dog on all the books, her mother's dog, Street Man, and he's always part of the story, and her mother's a real, well, let's say a little invasive, and she's always getting into her life, her daughter's life, but she's funny. I could picture her just like in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, Selina, how long have you been at Annie's Bookstore?
Over 5 years, a little over 5 years.
How did you hear about it?
How did I hear about Annie's?
Yeah.
I loved books forever.
Yeah.
And I just went by it one day, and I said, "Oh, it's a bookstore!"
Yeah.
And I went in there, and I just loved it. It's just a fantastic store.
It is. It's small, but it's got big inside.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than it looks on the outside, and it's got so many books in there. It's amazing. It's got new books, used books, and it's practically anything you would want to find a book. You would find there.
Where do the authors, I know you have author events, they come and speak. Where do they have the room for that type of thing?
Well, there's one room, which is the children's room. And we do get some, during the pandemic, we haven't had many speakers. And we're going to be starting to get a lot more authors to come in and do book signings.
Yeah.
But we do have one room that's kind of large enough to have book signings.
Yeah.
And if we have a really well-known speaker, we kind of move people along.
Sure.
And so we do have lines sometimes, and we move people along, and everybody does get to talk.
I would imagine that you must get a tsunami of authors wanting to come in. That's what I do. I get this. I'm thinking, my gosh, if you have a bookstore, it's like, woo, it's open season. We've got to go in. How many times do you have an authors event, do you think, during a year?
Well, like I said, during the pandemic, we haven't had any.
We were shut down too.
But we would have, sometimes we would have 2 a week or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That really, now, tell people, she tried to give me directions to it. I stink at it, and usually I'm pretty good. I know Southbridge Street, I know Park Avenue, but from there she lost me. How do people get to it? What's the deal?
Okay, it is, if you follow Park Avenue, it's
Towards Leicester. Away from Worcester.
Yes, away from Worcester, towards Leicester. You follow Park Avenue through Webster Square, and you head on towards Leicester, towards Cherry Valley.
Yep.
And there's a road that you turn left at to go towards 395.
Yep.
Towards Oxford, towards Auburn.
Do you go past Walmart there in Leicester?
No.
No, okay. Not that far.
No. You just go in to Webster Square.
Mm-hmm.
You go past a couple of shopping centers in Webster Square.
Sure.
And there's a road that you turn left at. It's right after Webster Square.
Right after. What's the road you get onto?
It's called James Street.
Okay. I went there once, but I don't think I could have gone there again without her just telling you how to get there. And then once you're there, it's a big parking lot.
Yes,
it's a plaza.
Yes.
And look over to your left, And there it is. Is someone named Patty the director?
Yes, Patty Cryan, yes.
Patty,
she's the owner.
I think I've met her. I remembered her very well. When you go in, Where are the different sections, like cozy mystery and suspense? How would you know where to go?
Well, when you first walk in the door, okay, on the left-hand side, there's the cash register and
Yep.
things. When you look straight ahead, you see there's new books and publishers, publishers specials and things. And if you go straight ahead, there's a number of different things in the same room, in the big room. There's science fiction or speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy.
You got a good sci-fi collection?
Yeah, there's a big sci-fi.
Yeah, my hubby's really into that.
Oh,
my God.
there's a really huge
Yeah.
science fiction and fantasy collection, and then on the left-hand side there's horror, big horror collection.
Thrillers?
Well, there are thrillers. Yeah.
Suspense.
There's horror thrillers, and then there's adventure thrillers.
Mystery.
Mysteries are in the other room.
They're in the other room. Yeah. How about Robert Parker? I love him.
Oh, we've got a lot of them.
Dude, you know, it's so sad he died young. We were only, 70, 60 something? I don't know what it was, but I think it's somebody called Ace Atkins has taken over Robert Parker's, either the ideas, you'd never know it wasn't Parker who wrote it. I like it.
That's what happens to a lot of authors. When they pass away, someone else takes over writing their books, and you'd never know that it wasn't.
No, he's got the style. Well, you know, Parker he's clever one-sentence answers to people. Are you a detective? That I am. And then I love it because it's a good read. It's fat, and he's a Boston boy. Wasn't he on television? Who was the actor that played him? Oh, Tom Selleck. Didn't he play, what's the name? Spencer. Yes.
Spencer for Hire?
And that Spencer for Hire. And Spencer is the guy in,
Mm-hmm.
and the Parker. And there's so many. What have we got? Patterson.
Yep.
Who's your favorite author?
My favorite author?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got quite a few.
Okay, we'll tell us all.
Well, I started out in science fiction. I've been in science fiction fandom since I was a teenager, so that's a long time.
Yeah.
And so I used to know all of the Silver Age, shall we say, authors. I knew Isaac Asimov very well, and Ben Bova, and I knew most of the old timers.
Right. Asimov?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew him quite well. And so I used to be in science fiction. That was all I was reading.
Yeah.
And then I got into romances.
Romances?
Okay.
Okay.
So I started reading all the romances, and now I'm mostly into cozy mysteries.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of gone from genre to genre.
Yeah.
But so my favorite authors, one of them is J.C. Eaton. Well, the two of them.
Oh, J.C. Eaton. It's a husband and wife team. They combined their names.
Yep.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
And another it would be Miranda James, who is actually Dean James, a male author.
Yeah. It's a guy. I've seen
it's a
that
guy.
over in Barnes and Noble, that section.
Yeah, he's a guy.
It's a guy?
He's a guy.
What? Miranda James.
Miranda James.
Maybe because it's cozy mystery, he thinks that the girls or the guys would, I don't know, if they wouldn't want to know it's him.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah, it is. He's great.
Yeah.
He's a great author. So I mean, for the cozy mysteries, those are great, and some local authors too. Liz McGavro is a local author. She lives in Connecticut. She's
the
one
cozy
of my
mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her cozy mysteries.
Yes.
What's her name again?
Liz McGavro.
McGavro. Okay.
She's a local cozy mystery author, and but then for science fiction, I still like the old timers. I still like the Asimov books, some of the old Asimov books. Mm-hmm. I still like Roger Zelazny was one of my favorites. I loved his fantasy, Nine Princes in Amber. He's one of my favorite series. I've just got a number of different favorites.
Do you have at home? This is. Do you have a tendency to have stacks of books by your bed? You trip over night.
By my bed, on my desk, in the living room, in the dining room.
A bookstore and a library are like kids in a candy shop thing. Can you go into a bookstore and not get something?
Nope.
Oh, I can't.
Nope.
I can't either.
I mean,
It's
I
terrible.
work in a bookstore.
Yeah.
I'm always buying books.
Yeah.
I go into another bookstore, I buy books.
Why not, right? So you started out as a kid. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Framingham, and then I grew up in Newton.
Okay.
And
you were interested in sci-fi back then?
yes.
As a kid, you were interested in sci-fi. What brought you out to the Worcester area?
I had some friends that moved to Worcester, and they kind of convinced me to come out here, and I'm very, very glad I did. Worcester, to me, it's a big city with a small town atmosphere,
Yeah.
and people are. I find people much friendlier out here than they were closer to Boston.
Yes.
And
yeah, I know.
everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows you,
Yeah.
or knows somebody who you know. It's just so much friendlier, and it does have a small town atmosphere.
It does. Now, when you went to you graduated high school, what did you do from there?
I graduated from high school. I worked. I went to college. I went to Emerson in Boston.
So my parents met
Where?
at Emerson in English class.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Oh, interesting.
Small world. Yeah.
Very
What
interesting.
did you major in?
I majored in theater education.
Yeah.
And
okay. That
I
must
was
be my mother. Did you take English class?
yeah.
You would be one of her kids. You're too young to ever have known her. But Dad was going into radio broadcasting, and she was going into theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they met, in English class.
Interesting.
That was long ago.
Oh, I was long ago.
Yeah. No way.
By the way.
Did you graduate from there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you had your degree. What did you select again? What was your degree?
Theater education.
Theater education. Did you go into stage?
Not really. I studied. Well, I started out in mass communications. I was actually working at WGBH TV
Oh.
at the time. I was on a series called Flea Market.
Yeah.
So it was for teenagers,
Yeah.
and we were the first. We were the first TV series ever to use helical scan videotape.
Yeah.
So it was a long time ago.
How long were you at WGBH?
Just a year.
Is that Channel 2?
Channel 2, yeah. And
Yeah. It's PBS.
yeah, PBS.
PBS.
Yeah. So I was there for a year. It was just it was for kids. I was in high school and then in college for that
Yeah.
year. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So that's why I started out in mass communications. But then I changed my mind because I really wanted to teach.
Yeah.
And so I went into theater education.
Yeah.
So after I got out of college, I decided I was working part-time when I was in school at the library, at Boston Public Library.
Wow.
And so
Talk about a real smorgasbord of books.
yes.
I would go nuts in there.
I did.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame you have to bring them back, you know?
Yeah.
You can buy some, though.
Yeah, I did. So again, my love of books, working at a library.
What did you do when you were there?
I was actually in the circulation department.
Yeah.
So it was a job.
Yeah, yeah.
I was there part time, and then I got a full time job there for afterwards.
Yeah.
And I decided I wanted to go back to school. I went to graduate school in England. I went to Plymouth Polytech in Plymouth, England, and studied educational technology.
Why would you go to England?
Well, my father loved England. He was there during the war, and he kind of instilled the love of England in me.
Yeah.
And I went there when I was in college. I went on a semester not a semester, a summer school in England.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And I loved it, absolutely loved it. So I went to graduate school there for a year and absolutely loved it again. Absolutely adored it.
You did a lot in a short span of time. You're sort of an entrepreneurial person.
Yeah.
Like, what do they call a serial entrepreneur? I know. I'm like that. You know, you get an idea in your head. My mother would say, a bee in your bonnet. She knew me. She'd say, go do it. Just do it. Because I would be miserable if I didn't. Were you like that too?
Yep.
Oh, I'd be physically ill. If I was in something I didn't like, I had to get out of it and go do something else. She knew.
Yeah.
Were your parents proud of you? With this?
Oh, yeah. My parents, my mother was an attorney, and in those days, to be an attorney in those days was amazing.
Deal. Oh, yeah.
And my sister and I believe, from little hints and things that my mother had told us, that she couldn't talk about it, but we believe she was a code girl.
A what?
A code girl. One of the women who broke codes during the war.
Ah. Okay.
And there was a book written about them.
You must know the author, Julian. He's a private author. He writes that type of book, like the historical codes things. That type, historical women. I can't think of it. Sorry, Julian. I cannot think of his last name. You would love his books.
Oh, really?
Code Girl Lily. Did you code name Lily?
No, I haven't heard that.
Okay, I'm going to write that down because I think you would love that.
Okay.
If I've still got it, you're going to have it. I'll tell him to send it to you.
But my parents were always kind of saying, "You do whatever whatever you want, be whatever you want." Even though we were females, but just because we were women, but we could do whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And so my parents were very
supportive.
Yeah.
Were you the baby or the oldest?
I was the youngest.
You were the youngest.
Just the two of us.
We tend to be this way. The first child is what I read somewhere. They're the flagship. They carry the family. They're the experiment. I hate to say it, but they're the ones that may get it the toughest. Yeah. While the younger ones a little bit smarter. Like, okay, that got him into trouble. I want to get around this way. Because we don't like confrontation. It's like, the hell with that. I'm not going to get Dad mad. I'm going this way. And yeah, Dad. And go the other way. So how many kids were in your family?
Just two.
Just the two of you. When did your sister go into this type of work too?
No, we kind of we both do the same thing at different times.
Yeah.
Because we both ended up in computers.
Oh.
I know, it's weird.
I admire you for that.
We both ended up in computers. It's funny. She was in ecology action, and then I ended up eventually working for Mass Audubon. We were both love nature,
Oh my
so
God.
and then I got into computers, and then she got into computers afterwards. So and then we just kind of did things at different times, but we both did the same kinds of things. It was hysterical.
We're talking with this wonderful lady, Selina Lovett, and you've done so many things, which is a miracle. She's now the marketing manager, the events person over at I want to get this right, Annie's Bookstore over in Worcester. What number James Street?
65 James Street.
65 James Street. Let them know, Selina, how they can reach you.
Our phone number is 508-796-5613. And if you want to order a book, you can send us email at orders@anniesbooksworcester.com.
Selina's a fun person. Let me tell you, I saw you interviewing the wife of the Eaton. What is it? The J.C. Eaton team.
Yes.
I could just tell. You were having a blast.
I was.
And she sure was, too.
Yeah.
I don't know, where was he that day? I miss meeting him, too, on an interview. Where'd he go?
I'm not sure where he was, actually.
They're so cute.
There.
How did they even? She probably explained it, and I don't remember. But how did they decide to sit down, a husband and wife team? One would write part of the story, then the other would do the other, and then the other would do the other. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get along pretty well for that.
A lot of people actually do that. There's several writers who work together with other people, like Liv Constantine, I believe it is.
Haven't heard of that.
Are two writers, and there's several others that are two writers.
Sure.
And they work together and they write.
That's amazing. You know, do you need any, like, if any of the young people out there would like to go into book selling and in library, whatever? Do you like to have what do you call them, interns, people to come over and help you out at all?
Sometimes we do, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good, because I wish the heck my parents I didn't look like I had the love of books back then, though. It's something that evolved. I don't know how. Maybe I began years ago interviewing so many authors, and I just began, well, this book is cool, this author is really cool, and then it just sort of gelled. Have you written a book at all?
Why do you think you should mention that?
You're writing one?
I have got about 5 or 6 ideas for books, and I did write one,
Yeah.
and then I kind of put it aside.
Yeah.
I do children's books.
Children's books?
Yeah, I love to write children's books.
My mom always said she wanted to write a children's book. I don't know why she didn't.
Really?
She would have been, she was a great mom. She would, you'd get this. I could read at 6 years old, but at 8 years old, probably to get me into bed early at night, she would sit there and she would read.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Thornton Burgess, Mother West Wind, that type. Well, anyway, she would read me. She'd be the animal. She'd be Sugar Up the Frog and all this thing, Grandfather Frog. And one day she said to me, "You know, Jan, you're old enough to read to yourself." I knew that. But it was more fun listening to her. It was a nice way to get me to come down, from the day, because once they fed me, I was ready to go for after dinner. That's it. But that's not what they wanted. They wanted to do the opposite. Were you like that as a kid, too? Pretty into books, hearing someone else read to you?
I don't remember, actually. I mean, my sister actually taught me how to read.
She did?
Yeah, she's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
And my parents tell me that my sister taught me how to read. I don't remember.
Where did you grow up? In New York? Or where were you?
No, in Framingham.
In Framingham. You grew up there. Did you go to, there's two. There's North and South High School?
Yeah, no. I moved out of there into Newton when I was in 6th grade. So I went
I
to
have a
Newton
friend who
High.
graduated, I think, from North. I forget.
Yeah, that's where I graduated, from North.
That's interesting. Did you know somebody named Robert Paler? Bob Paler? Tall, blonde, from Framingham.
I don't think so.
David Paler? Hello, you both. They're brothers. They're brothers. We're talking with Selina Lovett, and she is the marketing and events manager over at Auntie's Bookstop on James Street. Is it 11 or 13?
65 James Street.
65. Okay.
Close. Very close.
James Street in Worcester. Are you ever going to move? Do you think they'll move a little bit closer inward for people to find you, or no? They'll stay put?
I'm not sure about
What hours
that.
do you work, Selina?
Generally, I generally work 3 days a week right now. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Sometimes, because of the pandemic, I've been working a lot from home.
Sure. What are your hours when you're there? So people want to meet you. What hours and days, generally?
During the daytime.
During the daytime. Come on in. And the hours at the store are?
Usually we're open from 10 to 8 at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of, you know what I'm seeing, was it Tatnut?
At least.
Closing their door at 6.
Yeah.
It's been like that, I think, since COVID. But I want to say to them, guys, a lot of people get out of work, and then they can't come over to see you that night.
Yeah. And certain days we're open till 9.
That's a good thing.
Except on Saturdays we're open till, it depends on the season, but we're open till either 5 or 6.
So if an author wants to come in, they have a new book, whatever, and they want to maybe get signed up to give a little presentation or book signing there, tell us again how they can reach you.
Call me at 508-796-5613 and ask for Selina.
Selina. And Patty answers the phone. She's the owner,
Yep.
director. Are you going to have... There's the... What was it, though? I was just going to say, the one in Northborough. Was it Northborough closed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, Annie's used to be a franchise. It started out as a franchise. And then it switched over to independent bookstores.
Yeah.
And now there are very few independent bookstores left.
Indies, they call them.
Indies,
right?
yep.
Indies, yeah.
Yeah, there are very few of them left.
There was one in South Grafton. I remember
Yeah.
I used to go to that. It was kind of small. There was a very nice man behind the desk. And something was gone. And then
Yeah.
the next thing I know, the Northborough one was gone.
Yep.
You guys are going, are you?
I hope not.
Just don't go. We've got about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
What would you like to share with everybody about Annie's? Really, to get everybody going. Come on over and get a book.
Oh, like I said before, you can get almost any book you want at Annie's. And if we don't have it on site, we can get it for you, which is really important too.
Yes.
And we also mail books out to people. And it's just such a really nice store.
Yeah.
You can come in and it feels like an old time bookstore.
Mm.
So if you like the feel of an old time bookstore, not one of these big fancy stores with this great lighting and everything, if you like an old time kind of cozy,
Yep.
yeah, very cozy, kind of cluttered, but it's a fun place to be.
What you just said is unusual about mailing out a book. Now, you're going to be mailing one to me, and
Yep.
I don't know of any bookstore that does that, except that is
Yeah.
fantastic. What a personal touch that is. So somebody like me wants a book that you couldn't find. It's coming in, it's new, and you were going to bring it in, but it hadn't come in yet. She's going to actually mail it to me, and then, of course, I'll send her the money for it. That is awesome.
And we also have great discounts. I've never seen a bookstore that has
Like for what? Like
at least 20% off on new books, at least. Some are even more than that.
are the old books? They marked down to like half
Yep.
price.
50% off.
50% off.
50% off cover price.
Well, we've
used
been
books.
talking with Selina Lovett, and she works over at Annie's Bookshop in Worcester. You got to go there. It's really cute. Now, if I can find my way over there, I'm going to go. But I suppose if I might use my cell phone, I can say, "Help!" Thank you so much for being with us. We got
Thank you for having me.
again. And that book you've got coming, right?
Yes.
We're going to talk. This is where you belong. Get the word out about you. Any idea when you might finish it? No?
Finish what?
The book. Your book.
Oh, my book?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It depends on which one I decide to do next.
Oh, my God.
They're actually young adult books now.
Do you ever run the ideas across anybody else? Because feel free to connect with me.
Oh,
and say,
yeah.
What do you think, Jan? What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, the best thing is actually to find a critique groups, which I have, and also the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCIBWI, which I've gone to a couple of the conferences, and they're fabulous.
Before we close, do you have a writers group that meets there?
Here at Annie's?
Yeah.
No,
That'd
we
be
don't.
fun.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Yeah, they
You'd
are.
be great leading it, that's for sure. We gotta go. But anyway, we've been talking with Selina Lovett, and she is with the marketing events part of Annie's Bookshop over in Worcester. Don't be shy. Go on over, talk with her. Whether you be an artist or you just be a customer, we'll have you back. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
We'll
for
see you
having
next time.
me.
I'll be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.